Today's sermon is about covenants. Covenants that we make with each other. Do you remember playing hide and seek? Anybody here play that before? Anybody here never play hide and seek? No, it's a universal game. And what are the rules of that game? Let's think about that. First of all, we have to decide who's it. And then we have to decide where home free base is. Might be a rock, might be a tree, might be the porch, but if you run and you get there before whoever is it gets you, then you are safe. And you don't have to be it next time. But what about the person that's it? What are the rules for him or her? Has to close his eyes, right? No peeking. And then he has to count to 10. What else? 100. Yeah. By fives. Right. Exactly. Or tens if you want to cheat. Right. You have to count to 10 or 20 or 100. Absolutely. And you know why that game worked so well? Because you and everybody that played it with you agreed to follow those rules. And that's how covenants work. That covenant is when we all agree to play by the same rules. Dictionary.com defines a covenant in a church this way: a solemn agreement between the members of the church to act in harmony with the rules and the beliefs of the church. Lots of faiths have rules and beliefs that are written into a book, a holy book, like the Bible, or the Torah, or the Quran, or the Bhagavad Gita. Those are books, holy books. Here in the Unitarian Universalist faith, we don't have a book. We don't have a holy book, but we have a holy piece of paper. And on that piece of paper is written the covenant that we have with each other. In 1960, which was 55 years ago, there weren't any Unitarian Universalists. There were Unitarians and there were Universalists, but there were no Unitarian Universalists. But after some time, the Unitarians noticed the Universalists, and the Universalists noticed the Unitarians, and they started eyeing each other and saying, "Hey, you sound a lot like I sound. You seem to have beliefs similar to mine." And then they started talking. And they said, "You know what? You do have a lot of beliefs the same as mine. And I have a lot of beliefs the same as yours." And then they started talking about getting married. So the Unitarians and the Universalists could come together and be one faith, the Unitarian Universalist. Now the only problem was they had different sets of rules. How their rules didn't match their rules. It's kind of like playing ping pong at our house. We have a ping pong table. We have ping pong tournaments. And before every tournament, no matter who is over, there seems to be a little period called arguing, haggling, trying to decide what the rules of this game are going to be. Like who gets to serve first? How do we determine that? And when you serve, does it have to go a certain place on the table, or can you go off to the side, and does that count? And if it bounces off of the wall and it hits the table only one time, is it still fair play? Can we hit it back? How about if it hits the ceiling and then it hits the table? Fair play or not? How many points are we going to play to? How many points do we need to win by? And we wrestle until we come up with a set of rules that we all agree to play by. A covenant, a ping pong covenant. And that's exactly what happened to the Unitarians and the Universalists. They got together, and it took about a year of arguing. and haggling until they were able to come up with a set of rules that everybody was willing to play by, a covenant. They came up with 6 principles, which I will read to you. The first one is, we believe that every person has inherent inside of you worth and dignity. Number 2, we believe in justice, equity, and compassion in all human relationships. Number 3, in our congregations, we practice acceptance of one another and our differences, and we encourage each other's spiritual growth. Number 4, we support a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Number 5, we support the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process here in our congregation as well as in society at large. And number 6, we work toward the goal of world community for peace and liberty and justice for everyone. Then, 25 years later, in 1985, the Unitarian Universalist Association added principle number 7 to our covenant. We respect the independent web of all existence and acknowledge that we are a part of it. Now, our covenant here is actually different from covenants in other faiths because we are a little different, we have to admit. For example, in the Christian faith, the covenants are written in the Bible. They are covenants that God made, and it was a two-way promise. I will do this, or you will do this, and then I will do this. God set the conditions. For example, the first covenant God made was with the Israelites. And God said, if you will follow my 10 commandments, I will bless you. If not, forget it. Now, this was written thousands of years ago, and it's still alive and well today. I had a new couple come into me this weekend, and they're trying to move from being engaged over here to being married, and they're in the haggling part, trying to figure out the rules. The girlfriend says, we must get married in the church and have all of our friends and all of our family there to witness it. The boyfriend says, we should go to the justice of peace and maybe have one person stand up and save all that money on the wedding. To this, the girlfriend screamed almost. She says, it was in anguish and pain. She said, no, we must get married in the church or we will not receive God's blessings. Don't you understand? And I thought, well, I don't really understand that. Really? Do you really believe there will be no blessings for you? And I told her, we went to the JP, my husband and I, 35 years ago. We got many blessings. But she believes in her faith that no, you must, the covenant says you must be married in the church. We don't have that kind of covenant here. We don't have a conditional covenant that says you must do this in order to get this. In fact, our covenant is not even two-way. Our covenant is individual. It's a covenant that I make with you here in the fellowship, with you, the congregants. No strings attached. Now, I hope you will also covenant with me with no strings attached. But regardless of what your choice is, I will honor the inherent dignity that you have, the inherent worth that you are. I will also stand for justice and equity. I will support your free and responsible search for truth and meaning. What works for you? I will practice accepting you exactly who you are. and encourage your spiritual growth. I will support your right of consciousness. I will support the democratic process here in this fellowship. I will support the democratic process. I will vote in our society. I will do my best to work toward a global community of justice and liberty and peace for all. And I will respect the interdependent web of all existence, acknowledging that I am just one part of that. Will you do the same for me? Will you covenant those things to me and everybody else here? Because if you will, you can call yourself a Unitarian Universalist. And you can actually join this fellowship, because that's all it really takes, is understanding what rules we operate from here and agreeing that you would like to operate from those rules too. But here's the twist with Unitarian Universalist, or not. You don't even have to believe what I believe to be a member here. We have room for you wherever you are. But I will warn you that most of us have a covenant with each other about those 7 principles. But I've noticed some other smaller covenants that happen around here too, that a lot of people have committed to. Many people have personally pledged to support each other through better and worse. Many people have pledged that I will honor each one of you by not talking badly about you, not talking smack, not disrespecting you by gossiping. Some people have pledged to bring food when there's distress. Our house flooded in April. People brought us food. My husband's mother died in July. People brought us food. And there are some people here who have pledged to bring food when there's no distress. They bring those desserts for Sunday morning every week. There are some people that bring food for the potlucks. Some people that bring food for the dinners we have at nighttime, especially the service auction that's coming up. Yet there are other people here who have committed just to show up on Sunday morning and be part of this community and do everything they can to strengthen this community, to share their talents, to share their energies, to share their stories and joys and concerns, to connect with others. Still, there are people here who commit to serve on committees. There is a worship committee here. There's a greeting committee here. There's a work committee here to keep the building up. There's an outreach committee. And let me tell you, we got some space open for you in one of those committees. If you want to serve in that way, please see me. I would love to sign you up. Others covenant to serve the community. They show up at Memorial Assistant Ministries. They serve food to the homeless. They march against injustices. They march in the Pride Parade. They are committed and have made a covenant here to stand on the side of love. Many pledge to support the church financially, to pay for the air conditioning that we have, to pay for the electricity that we have, to pay for the upkeep of the building and the staff that works here. People also have agreed, covenanted to do the rituals we have here. The flower communion, they're the people that bring the flowers. The water communion, the people that set up the water. Thank you, June. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Laura, making it beautiful for us. What about you? What is it that you want to covenant? What is it that you want? What are the rules that you want to live your life by? I want to share a story with you from Mark Hansen in the First Chicken for the Soup Soul book. And I have to tell you, I have not been able to verify it online, though I tried. He's talking about an earthquake that happened in Armenia in 1988 and large aftershocks in 1989. I didn't find this on the internet, but I found a lot of stories like it. And I will tell you, I was in a 7.8 earthquake in Nepal a year and a half ago, and I witnessed this happening. So I do believe there are some truths in this story. In 1989, an 8.2 earthquake almost flattened Armenia, killing over 30,000 people in less than 4 minutes. I've read the estimate is up to 50,000. In the midst of utter devastation and chaos, a father left his wife securely at home and rushed to the school where his son was supposed to be, only to discover that the building was flattened like a pancake. After the traumatic initial shock, he remembered the promise he had made to his son, "No matter what, I will be there for you." And tears began to fill his eyes, and as he looked at the pile of debris that once was a school, it looked hopeless, but he remembered his commitment. He began to concentrate on where he walked his son to school, to class each morning, remembering that his son's classroom would be in the back right corner of the building. He rushed there and started digging with his hands through the rubble. And as he was digging, other four-line parents came and said, "My son, my daughter." Well-meaning parents said to him, "It's too late. They're dead. Really, you can't help. Go home." To each parent he said, "Will you help me?" And they did. The fire chief showed up and said, "Listen, mister, we're going to handle this. You don't have to do it." The police chief showed up and said, "Listen, people, we're going to take care of this. Don't worry. You don't have to do this." And to each person he said, "Will you help me? Will you please help me?" And they did. And they dug and they dug. The hours went by, 12 hours, 24 hours, 36 hours. On the 38th hour, they pulled back a boulder, and the man heard some children's voices. He yelled, "Armand! Armand!" And the little boy answered back, "Dad, I'm here! Dad!" He said, "You know what, Dad? I told all the other kids here not to worry. I told them that if you're alive, you will come and get me, because you promised me no matter what, you would be there for me." And the father said, "Well, what's going on, son? What's there?" He said, "There are 14 of us left out of 33, Dad. We're scared and we're hungry and we're thirsty. Please get us out of here." And one by one, they took the children out. And he said, "Dad, you can take me last, because I know you won't forget me, that you will be there for me no matter what." And that's the covenant that I want to make in this church, in this fellowship, in this congregation, for you to know that I will be there for you no matter what. That this congregation will be there for you no matter what. No matter what you have done in your life, I don't care. No matter what you haven't done in your life, I don't care. I and this congregation will love you and accept you just exactly the way you are. And if you're new here and you're not ready to join the fellowship yet, and you're not ready to covenant yet, that's okay, because you are exactly where you need to be in your own journey. And I honor that as sacred. But I will tell you this. In my 20s, I went to adult children of alcoholics meetings because my dad was an alcoholic. And I sat in the back of the room for 6 months. I arrived late and I left early, so I didn't have to talk to anyone. And I got little morsels of wisdom, but my progress was slow. And it finally occurred to me, Patti, if you want to get better, if you really want to get better, you got to ramp it up. You got to be willing to talk. You got to be willing to participate. And so I started to participate at a different level. I started sharing my stories. I started coming early and talking to people. I started staying late to talk to people and help and support people. And guess what? It worked. So I encourage you to participate here at a different level. To speak to a stranger, to offer help, to ask for help, to join a committee, to bring donuts next Sunday, to bring your gifts, your talent, your energy to this congregation. Because you know what? Mother Teresa was right. Together, we are better. Together, we can do something wonderful. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen.